Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Friday, October 11th. Today is day 371. Today is also Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar when Jewish people around the world fast, pray, and seek forgiveness from God, and also from people in their lives in order to come closer to God. It is the peak of the high holidays on the Jewish calendar. Today is also my birthday, and my breath prayer continues to be from Romans chapter 12, verse 9. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil and cling to what is good. I'm just finishing up literally a month of traveling around the world. I'm still in London. I head home tomorrow. I'm desperate to be home. I'm grateful for many things. I'm grateful that I have a home to return to. I'm grateful that I have loved ones there who are alive and healthy to greet me. And those are things I don't take for granted. But as I think of what it means to cling to what is good, I also have encountered incredible people around the world. I've spent time with people from Washington State to South Korea to the Middle East to the streets of London. There are people who want to help and to make the world a better place on little things and big. I had a mishap at the train station when I got to London a couple of days ago. I have a lot of luggage. I've been traveling for a month, so don't judge. And I also have had people give me things along the ways, of course, as things tend to do. My luggage has grown. I have several books that have been given to me by a lovely man in Germany, and my bags are rather heavy. And I had this mishap at the train station where my bags were kind of falling all over the place. And I didn't have one person help me. I had two. This beautiful African British woman came and offered her assistance. And then a man I'd gotten to know a bit on the train who is seemingly unhoused. He spends his days on the train so that he can sleep. And he has a ticket that lets him ride anywhere. And so they both helped carry my bags, and they're heavy because they have books in them. And so the woman took one side and I took the other, and you should have seen us, the three of us, like walking what felt like it was a mile to the cab stand. And they put me in a taxi, and the gentleman actually rode with me into town from the station. And I just thought it was such a little thing. And I just thought, it's an insignificant example of people coming together. But if you could have seen the three of us, it also gave me a glimmer of hope that people can come together and do good and serve one another and help one another and make the world a better place. And so when I think about clinging to what is good, that's one of the images that I have. People working together for breakthroughs. And I've met people around the world who are doing that. They're doing great, great work, and they are sacrificing mightily. So pray for them, pray for us, pray for Churches for Middle East Peace, pray for our staff, for me, if you would be so gracious. And if you have resources of time or energy, or, if you can think of us, in terms of even considering being a monthly donor, those types of things make such a huge, huge difference. So thank you for being partners along the journey with us. You are a part of making the world a better place too, and we are so grateful, and you have a role to play. At the same time, we should hate what is evil, and there is so much evil happening in the world. And particularly as the wars continue in the Middle East. So I want to give you an update of what's happened some over the last day. May the Lord give us strength to allow our hearts to be broken, to continue to engage, to love better, to do better in our efforts towards peace. There was an Israeli attack. I think I might have shared this late last night. There was an Israeli attack in Beirut where 22 people were killed, 117 injured. It was the deadliest strike on the city since October 8th. The IDF did not issue a warning as it does or has before other attacks. The Lebanese government has asked for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at the UN Security Council to vote on a resolution asking for an immediate and full ceasefire We've talked about how it could be incredibly problematic if the Lebanese military does get involved in the fighting, because they would be essentially decimated. They're a much weaker military force than the IDF. They would be significantly defeated, which would be devastating for Lebanese Christians, but would also leave a vacuum for other militant groups, Hezbollah and others, to rise up. Israeli forces fired at a watchtower that's used by UN peacekeepers in South Lebanon. We've been talking about the peacekeepers being caught in the middle, about the Israelis telling them to evacuate. 2 peacekeepers were injured. The UN interim force in Lebanon, UNIFIL, said it marks the 3rd day in a row that peacekeepers have been under fire by Israelis at their positions. A senior Hezbollah official was said to be the target, but sources say he has survived. Human Rights Watch has called for an inquiry on the attack. In cases like this, it just seems like the Israeli military behavior on the battlefield has no acknowledgement of international law. UNIFIL has relocated 300 peacekeepers to larger bases out of safety concerns. Iran is threatening in secret diplomatic channels to target Arab Gulf states and other U.S. Middle East allies if their territories or airspace are used in Israel's retaliatory attack. Saudi, the UAE, and Qatar have already refused to allow Israel to use airspace in the past. President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu have seemingly moved closer to an understanding in terms of the scope of an Israeli attack on Iran. An Israeli official has reported it reportedly is more aggressive than the White House would like, which is seemingly quite disconcerting. According to reports, the U.S. still believes that Iran has not decided to build a nuclear weapon. Relentless Israeli attacks on Gaza medical workers and healthcare facilities amount to war crimes and extermination, according to UN investigators yesterday. The report said that Israelis have imposed collective punishment on Palestinians in retaliation for the Hamas-led October 7th attacks. The IDF said it killed the head of Islamic Jihad's militant group network in a Palestinian refugee camp in the West Bank, saying a second militant was also killed. The group did not immediately comment. Meanwhile, Doctors Without Borders posted on social media from their team that thousands of people are trapped in the Jabalia camp in North Gaza. They said, as Israeli forces attack the area, nobody is allowed to get in or out. Anyone who tries to do so is shot. According to their project coordinator, 5 of the staff are trapped in the camp, fearing for their lives. We're not staying at the Al Yemen Al Sahid hospital, but they bombed it, or they were staying at the hospital, but they bombed it. About 20 people were killed. I don't know what to do. At any moment, we could die. People are starving. I'm afraid to stay, but I'm also afraid to leave, said a Doctors Without Border driver trapped at the Jabalia camp. Israeli forces issued the evacuation orders on October 7th. This is in the north of Gaza, while carrying out attacks at the very same time, preventing people from leaving the area safely. Forced evacuations of the homes and bombing of the neighborhoods by the Israeli forces in North Gaza is turning it into uninhabitable ruins. We talked about this when those evacuation orders came through, and our worst fears are being realized. I did receive a note today on a network that I'm a part of that there was an official statement from the Israeli army. Based on a situation assessment, it was decided to deploy additional combat units for defense tasks into the central command of the West Bank. The reinforcement will enhance the defense of settlements, secure the security fence, and prepare forces for potential scenarios. Hebrew news sources in Israel reported that an area of the UNRWA headquarters in Jerusalem is being expropriated in favor of the construction of thousands of housing units. The entire UNRWA Ma'alat Daphna in Jerusalem will become 1,440 housing units, and the project is already in preparation. Yemeni Houthis attacked a Liberian-flagged chemical tanker yesterday in the Red Sea. No injuries were reported. And I wanted to call to your attention, you should really take a look. There was an article in Marie Claire magazine that was just published about the births in Gaza. It's called Giving Birth in Gaza. Procedures performed with kitchen scissors, makeshift medical tents with no pain medication, clean water, or electricity. Marie Claire goes inside one of the most dangerous places in the world to be pregnant right now. And finally, I want to close from the words of one of my dear, dear, dear friends who's in Gaza doing incredible humanitarian work. He's a Palestinian from there. He said, "We miss life. Yesterday, I visited a relief project in the southern Gaza Strip, designed to support one of the most vulnerable families displaced by the nonstop genocidal war. The project wasn't about building homes or helping the family establish a livelihood. It was simply about installing a latrine next to their dilapidated makeshift shelter. The family was thrilled with the assistance, and I focused my questions on the performance and professionalism of our team and the family's other pressing needs, all the while hoping for an end to the ongoing war. Nearby, a group of small children stood watching, preparing to head to the Mediterranean Sea for what they call their daily bath. Curious, I began by asking who among them was the best swimmer, and then moved on by the classic question for kids: what do you want to be when you grow up? There was silence. I wish I had a camera to capture their expressions. I thought perhaps that they hadn't heard me, or that they were too shy. I repeated the question, and one of them confirmed that they understood perfectly. Yet none of the 5 children answered, and I gathered my thoughts and tried to lighten the mood by sharing what I had dreamt of being when I was their age. The conversation took an unexpected turn. The children, with remarkable seriousness, began to ask me about my expectations for the future. How could they think of growing up? They had no home, no school, no certainty of survival. I found myself grasping for hope, advocating for a future I could not assure them of, assuming it might somehow be better. These 5 children, representing their generation, have been forced into daily responsibilities that include fetching water at dawn, selling bread their mothers bake, collecting firewood for cooking, repairing their fragile shelters. They call them their tents. They carry jerry cans of water for their moms, facing skin diseases that scratch with sea sand, all the while living under the constant threat of airstrikes. When I asked them if they were afraid of the bombings, their response was chillingly unified. If it happens, they would rather be killed outright than survive with injuries or amputations. Adults began to gather around us, listening intently. They weren't there to interrupt, but to hear the children speak for once rather than labor. To close our conversation, I circled back to the earlier question about the swimming champ. To my surprise, all of the children agreed. The best swimmer was a girl among them. With her sunburned face, she smiled and confirmed, "I am their lifeguard."